Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, June 19th to Saturday, June 25th. So let's review, let's recap what went on this past week. We had Mercury re-enter into Gemini. This was let's call it a re-celebration of Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information and communication, taking his place of power, taking his throne in Gemini. Of course, he rules over Gemini. He also rules over Virgo. And this last week was a reflection, a review, all the way back to the very end of April when Mercury first moved into Gemini. We had a couple of days there. We got to 4 degrees before Mercury actually went retrograde in Gemini. And then, as we know, the long tail, it retrograded back into Taurus energy. We had to go all the way back to the beginning of April. Then, of course, we went direct on the 3rd. Then we had to retrace our steps. Now we have Mercury almost at the exact placement, the exact speed as he was when he went retrograde. So as of the 18th, the retrograde post-shadow period is over. This means that instead of trying to make sense of the past, instead of reflecting and recalibrating and revising and review, now our attention, our focus is here in the present moment and focused on our future. Now keep in mind, Mercury rules over Gemini season. Gemini season is coming to an end. Gemini season has been about us really opening up our minds and debating between two very different choices, extreme choices, decisions, paths, directions. Why? Because we got rocked in eclipse season. Gemini season presents us with two different opportunities. Basically, to summarize, are we going to stick with the same old and revolve, or are we going to try something new and evolve? Many of us pushed into having to adapt to something new due to the divine scripted events of eclipse season, but we still don't know what we're doing. We're still lacking clarity. We don't know the next step. We don't know the path. We don't know the end goal. That is okay. Now with Mercury out of its post-shadow period, we're going to start seeing a lot more aha moments. We're going to start making sense of a lot of things. We're going to see new opportunities present themselves. We are leaning into one choice, one path, one decision over the other one. And again, we only have a couple of days left to do this. And Mercury, having re-entered into Gemini, put a lot of pressure in our headspace. It happened the day before the full moon in Sag, which for many of us was a huge illumination, a huge vision, a huge amount of truth, a huge aha moment, a lot of pressure. There's been a lot of ants in our pants, mostly because we want to start something new, but we don't know what that new is. We want to initiate a new chapter. We don't know what that chapter is. It really tested our belief system. First of all, the belief within ourselves. Second of all, the belief in the universe, trusting the process, trusting the plan. Very hard to do. We're still in this full moon in Sag. This is, again, trying to establish our path, trying to focus in on one thing, trying to project ourselves in a futuristic dream and vision that makes us happy and makes us feel like we're on a mission to fulfill our soul's purpose, and then bring it back down in the present moment, see what we can do about it, add practical, logical strategy to it, make a plan. And again, Gemini season is all about the choices that we're making, all about opening our minds up, all about deciding one thing over the other. And then we will be moving into a brand new energy cycle. We'll get to that in just a second. The notable mentions that we had for this past week: Venus conjuncted the North Node in Taurus. Venus, of course, in her place of power, she only got a couple of days left to really embody the qualities and characteristics of being in this Taurus energy. Recap: this is feminine divine energy, going with the flow, being receptive, working on our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-esteem, our self-reliance. This is figuring out what it is that's going to make us feel emotionally safe, secure, and stable. This is about where it is in the here and now, in our physical circumstances, regardless of how uncomfortable and dark they may be, where we can embody the attitude of gratitude, where we can grasp to the little bits and pieces of happiness and joy, where it is that we can soak all the way in those little glimmers of pleasure, okay? We only have a couple of days left for our goddess to really drive home the lessons within our physical bodies on finding safety, security, and stability, not only in our physical realms, but in our emotional circumstances. We had Mars, the masculine energy, conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. If you listen to the daily energy forecasts, you would have kind of seen that buildup of fear and doubt and insecurity, and really highlighting to us our wounds and our past experience, our past trauma, our past suffering. And Mars conjunct with Chiron, the wounded healer, was the tipping point where we stop playing the victim, where we stop acting out of anger, where we stop living in fear, and where we are now shifting to embody the divine masculine, being bold, being brave, being courageous, unleashing that warrior spirit. Are we going to let our past pain and trauma dictate the rest of our lives? No. Are we going to let the blocks and challenges and obstacles keep us from actually getting to where it is that we desire to be? No. Was it supposed to happen in one day? No. We're going to talk about that here in a second. I actually ranted about it in the energy forecast for June 18th, I believe, but I'm going to recap about that here in my rant in just a second. This is basically the masculine energy in his place of power, Mars in Aries, the feminine energy, Venus in Taurus, in her place of power, really kind of stepping up, leveling up, recognizing where there's a time to aggress oneself in order to actually push forward and assert oneself in the path of getting what it is that we want, and where it is that we have to trust ourselves, trust the universe, step back, go with the flow, surrender, see what comes to us. This is a balancing act between the masculine and feminine energies that we all have within us, and this Chiron energy. The North Node energy that Venus bumped into is our soul's path, our soul's destiny. And the Chiron energy that Mars bumped into is the warrior spirit that we're now going to need to embody in order to actually get from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. So this week, what do we got going on? Well, first of all, like I said, Mercury comes out of the post-shadow period. The 19th is the first day that we are moving forward. We are moving in a degree that Mercury did not experience back in April, beginning of May. This is a fresh start, a clean slate. It's kind of interesting how it happens because Mercury is out of its post-shadow period on the 19th. We have our last quarter moon in Pisces at a 29 degree, a critical degree, a crisis degree of consciousness, of healing, of transformation, of release. On a soul level, because Pisces is a soul level, a karmic level, where our soul contracts are concerned, our intuition is concerned, where the deep emotional healing is concerned. This is not only a reflection back to Pisces season, but this is a full circle being brought from the eclipse season into now. Again, Mercury is working for us. All the wheels are moving in our mental plane. We're putting the pieces together. We're seeing the connections being made. We're having light bulbs pop off. And now we are fully ready to jump into a brand new chapter. So we got the last quarter moon in Pisces taking place on the 20th. What do we also got going on here? We have the summer solstice. The sun moves out of Gemini, moves into Cancer on the 21st. This initiates the solstice energy. What is the solstice energy? It is fair game. It is equal game. It is where day and night are equal, are even. What do we get from this? We get, I would like to say a reset, but a reset sounds like we're starting all over. We're not starting all over. What we're doing is we're anchoring in the new choice points. We're anchoring in the new decisions, the new direction, the new ideas, the new emotions, the new wants, needs, and desires. We have an equal playing field with the solstice energy. And it's a very short time frame where, of course, day and night are even. But at the same time, this is what we've been working for, a brand new foundation. Cancer season is a water season, highly emotional, highly intuitive. It is where foundations are built. It is where we've made a decision. And let me even go back even further. Rewind all the way to Aries season. Aries season, it's when we come to life again, when a spark takes place, when we get excited about something, when something new happens, a new beginning, a new chapter. Taurus season is when we manifest it, when we embody it, when we bring it to life. We look at what we need to do in our physical realms in order to actually bring the spark into fruition. Gemini season, we take it up into the mental plane. We decide, we have choices to make. We have things to debate. We have options. We have all kinds of experimenting to do. Cancer season is when we put it to work. We build the foundation. Cancer season is also where we kind of retreat a little bit to take care of our home, of our family. It is also the season that we are looking for safety and security, especially where our emotions are concerned. Now, much of the reason why we're in a state of confusion right now is because, again, confusion leads to clarity. And much of the reason why we're in this choice point in Gemini season, having to decide one thing over the other, is so that when we move into Cancer season, we bring it down into the heart space. We add an emotion to it, how we feel about the decision, how we feel about our choice, how we feel about the direction, how we feel about actually building a solid foundation for us to build upon. This is a big deal. So that's the 21st. On the 22nd, we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and money and pleasure herself, stepping down from the throne. I'm not going to say putting her crown down, because a goddess never puts her crown down, but she is stepping out of her place of power and comfort out of Taurus. She is stepping into Gemini. This is where we experiment. I will give you a little bit of a hint here. We all, like astrology, our year, our months, the zodiac signs, everything. It's one big cycle. There's many cycles within the big cycles. From the solstice up until the Lionsgate portal, August 8th, we are in a period of experimentation. Experimenting with our new image, our new personality, our new attitude. Maybe we're experimenting with new people, new relationships. Maybe we're experimenting with new careers, new money matters, new ways of taking care of ourselves, new ways of taking care of our family. Basically, up until this point, we've been deciding what it is that we're actually going to do with ourselves. Now we're going to start experimenting by putting it into practice. By the time we get to the Lionsgate portal, that is a choice point. That is a timeline jump. That is where we have an opportunity to stick with the experimentation process, figure out what's working for us, what isn't working for us, what it is that we want to stick with, what it is we want to move on from, and where it is that we are ready to level up. So from the solstice to August 8th, we're in experimentation time. When Venus jumps into Gemini energy, she wants to be mentally and intellectually stimulated. She's curious. She's more open to being social. She's more open to learn things. She's more open to trying to do things in a different way in order to provide herself with the safety and the security, the stability that she just recognized through this process that she's lacking. She wants to experiment with what is going to make her happy, what can bring joy and pleasure and fun into her life while she's working on changing some of the circumstances that she knows that she has to change. This is going to be a totally different game, a totally different ball field, if you will. And especially seeing how the solstice energy kind of levels things out and gives us an equal playing field, we really have to understand that the edginess, the restlessness, the anxiety that we've been having, feeling like we've been jumping into something new, but feeling the brakes put on us as well. This is a time when we're going to see the green light go ahead. This is a time where we're going to have to listen to our intuition first and foremost. We're very protective over ourselves, our emotions, our family, our friends, what it is that we've created. We're also a little bit protective over what parts of our lives, of ourselves that are changing because we're not sure about it yet. It's not stable yet. So we go to great lengths in order to protect what it is that we've already built, what it is we've already created, and what it is that we're currently building, what it is we're currently creating. A couple of notable mentions for the week. We do have Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion, abundance, blessings, belief in Aries, who just wants to start something new. It's been a long 12 years. We just want to start building this new passion, this new desire that we have, this new beginning, this new life, this new chapter that we are going to be building upon for the next 12-year cycle. We have Jupiter semi-squaring, which isn't a major aspect, but it's enough tension, enough conflict. We definitely don't need any more than this particular aspect with the true note, the destiny point, our soul's path. So what we can kind of assume is going to be the vibe this week, and I'll give you the best rundown in the shortest time frame that I possibly can. Suddenly, wheels are turning. We are debating things. We're making choices. We're leaning into decisions. Then we see where it is we need to close the door on past cycles, past confusion in order to embrace this new path, this new choice, this new decision. Then we jump into the solstice energy. Suddenly we feel like the green light go ahead is gifted to us. Like we do have more opportunity. We do have more of a playing field. Then we jump into curiosity. What do we want to try next? Where can we open ourselves up? What conversations can I have? Where can I put myself out there that I wasn't willing to put myself out there once again? And then on the 25th, Jupiter and the true nodes square off. This is a choice point. Where are we going to grow, or where are we going to stay the same? Where are we going to go, or where are we going to revert back to? This is a choice point for growth, for improvement, for opportunity. This is a choice point on whether or not you are brave enough, whether you have that warrior spirit that Mars bumping into Chiron just a couple of days ago was supposed to trigger in you. If you're going to have the boldness, the bravery, the courage, that warrior spirit to actually make a move when you've been given all the signs, all the green light go-aheads to actually do so, or are you going to choke? Are you going to let the negative narrative, the challenge, the obstacles, the work that it's going to take to keep you in a state of paralysis and non-action? So that's what we're building to. And then not even to mention that this is the last full week of June. And of course, we're learning the lesson of 6 on where it is that we're reorganizing, restructuring our mind, body, and soul, our daily lives, our daily tasks, our daily chores, where it is that we're rewriting mental narratives and our focus, attention, and direction. And then, of course, next week, which I won't get too ahead of myself in, but next week, like we're building right now towards the new moon in Cancer that happens on the same day as Neptune goes retrograde on the 28th. And let me tell you, when Neptune goes retrograde, that is when the universe smacks the rose-colored glasses off of our cute little faces. And we can't fib, we can't lie, we can't delude ourselves. We have to see our realities for the way that they are and not the way that we wish them to be. It's like shit or get off the pot at this point. Right? We're building up towards these energies. Suddenly we want a reason to numb. We want a reason to escape because we know that the next chapter that we're about to move in is going to really put us in a position to have to be hell-bent, damn well and determined to not let anything get in our way. We can't just bury our head in the sand. We can't just, float off to la la land and disassociate from our realities. We literally have to be present in the moment to do the work that is necessary to get us to the next level, to get us to the next chapter, to get us to the next soul contract. That is what we're doing. So we got a lot going on, to be honest. And I know that I say this every week, but guess what? The Great Awakening popped off 2 years ago. Did you actually think it was going to be a walk in the park? I didn't. I've been in boot camp. I've been in training for over a decade waiting for this. And some weeks are harder than others. I don't think this is going to be a hard week, but we have multiple days with multiple energy shifts, really focusing in on the green light go ahead that we've been begging for. And let me be very clear. We have been complaining. We have been wanting. We just want to start new. We're done with the past, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you, if there is any whining, once the green light go ahead is given to us, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Because a lot of the time, people want. And then you're gifted the opportunity to have what it is that you've been praying for, and then people choke. People cry. People complain. Why? Because sometimes getting the exact thing that you want, sometimes getting what it is that you prayed for is the scariest shit you could ever do, right? People don't know what to do with themselves, especially when now you actually have to roll your sleeves up and do the work to rearrange, reorganize the elements in your life to actually align with the vision and the dream that you've been conjuring up in your inner realm, that now you're gifted the green light go ahead to actually make moves in this physical realm and go after. Many people do not have the kahunas to do what you got to do in order to get what it is that you want, need, and desire. Plain and simple truth. So I hope with all of you amazing spiritual warriors out there, I hope you are going to rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion, really unleash that inner warrior, and really show yourself, show the universe that you weren't messing around, that you 100% are ready to do what you got to do in order to move forward in life and to end up in a place where your dreams and your visions are actually manifesting, actually physically anchored in to this physical realm. There's a lot going on. So now I'm going to move into our Ascension rant. That was kind of the astrology rant. Now we're going into the Ascension rant. What I want to say first and foremost, first of all, is thank you for being here. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support in all the different ways that you're able to show it. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. It all helps my channel. It all helps each other. It all helps the people that are just waking up and need a little bit of guidance. So the more that you can interact, like, share, comment, make sure you're subscribing, the love that you give, all that kind of good stuff, that is helping a greater cause than just me, just this YouTube channel. And I want to thank you for that. I also want to give a shout out to the fathers out there. And I don't mean just the good fathers. I mean the crappy fathers as well. And one would say, well, why would you even want to give a shout out to the crappy fathers? Why? Because you guys have signed up to play a very specific soul contract to help your children find their own worth without your attention, without your love, without your support. Now, that in no mean way, that does not mean that if you're a good father, that you're not playing a huge part. You are. It's just that a lot of people, especially on social media, I keep seeing it now. It's like, there's this meme out there and it says, if anybody sees my baby daddy celebrating Father's Day, please call the cops on him. Haven't seen him in years, type of thing. And that's supposed to be funny, but here's the thing. The father wound is a big deal, okay? Even fathers in families that still stick around who don't embody the quality and characteristics of the divine masculine are still creating wounds. What I will say is that the generation that we're currently in, and typically speaking, many generations before us, have struggled with the masculine energy. A lot of the masculine energy that we see now is toxic masculinity. I know that label gets thrown around, and many times it's thrown around in the wrong way. what we need to understand is we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. We all have the ability to embody the toxic feminine and masculine qualities. We also have the ability to turn those toxic qualities into positive ones and embody the divine masculine, the divine feminine. When it comes to the father figure in the nuclear home, we shouldn't be so shocked at the state of the world right now when we have literally seen more single mothers, more single families remove the father figure. And of course, that is the government's ploy. In order to get you reliant on the government, you need to take that masculine divine energy away so that, if the government wants to go after your kids, they can get to them. There's not a masculine figure there to provide and protect. Okay, this is the great big plan that we got going on here. But here's the thing. Everyone, regardless of your role, is playing a part in the great grand scheme of things. On the nuclear family, spectacle, let's say, the father, whether you're present or not, whether you're emotionally available or not, is playing a significant role in implementing the kinds of qualities and characteristics onto their kids. Now, there are some amazing fathers out there, some even single amazing fathers out there. Now, y'all have done an amazing job embodying the qualities and characteristics of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, because you got to be both things. Just like we went on this rant on Mother's Day about the mother wound, right? And how it's honestly more detrimental than the father wound. I'm going to do the same thing here. Father's Day brings up a lot of pain and suffering for the people that didn't have the kind of father that they wanted to. It brings up a lot of pain and suffering when your father isn't presently here to celebrate, even if they were a great dad. If they've passed on in spirit, it triggers that wound, the father wound. It basically brings up the wounds that Mars and Chiron were supposed to expose for all of us just this past week. Mars is the divine masculine that has a lot of toxic traits if you don't embody the divine part of the energy. Chiron is the wounded healer. He's been in Aries, the masculine energy. This is why toxic masculinity has been a topic, a theme for, I'm going to say, at least the last 5 years, right? They're trying to demonize the masculine energy. They're trying to, I'm going to say, feminize the masculine energy in removing the big macho protector type of vibe. We need that back, people. Even if you're a female, you need to be embodying that vibe. What I find interesting, here I'm about to go on a rant. What I find interesting is that many of the females walking the face of the earth right now are more masculine energy than they are feminine. Why? Because the masculine energy failed them. They either grew up in environments where they had to be in charge of survival, where they had to be strong enough to protect themselves, where they had to assert themselves in order to be heard, in order to be seen, in order to be fought for. Maybe they had a lot of painful relationships in their life that put them in the position where they did not feel safe around anyone. That is the masculine energy. While on the other hand, there are a lot of males walking around on the face of the earth right now, embodying more of the feminine energy. Why? Because their toxic masculinity led them into being a little bit more emotional, a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more receptive. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. But any time that whether a female or a male embodies one energy over the other, there's going to be an unstable balance of energies. And a lot of the reason why the males are getting a bad rap these days is because they've been put in a position to be beat down, demonized, and fallen in a very stereotypical type of role that the government totally set up for them to play in. You know, deadbeat fathers, not having any roles and responsibilities, not even meeting their kids half of the time, falling into victimhood, really looking out for themselves, becoming overly entitled, overly emotional, has definitely done its damage on what the divine masculine was meant to be. And like I said, I'm not leaving females out because listen, we are in a time of the rise of the divine feminine. But in order for the divine feminine to rise, we have to spotlight the toxic feminine. And not that I buy into these little skits and movies and distractions, such as the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case, but that is a perfect example, although it's not real, but a perfect example of the toxic femininity that is going on in the world. We have to balance things out. Gaia, Mother Earth herself, has awakened. That's why we're going through the ascension process in order to basically redeem the divine feminine energy that has been broken down, has been manipulated into embodying the toxic qualities and characteristics, and even pushed to abandon all femininity and embody the masculine energy that many of us have been lacking since childhood. So, to bring it full circle, happy Father's Day. I want you to take a very, very intentional time out today and think about the father figure, how you feel about the father figure. If you are a father, I want you to think about you as the figure to the little people that look up to you. If you have a father and know of him, I want you to think about the qualities and characteristics, the good, the bad, the ugly, that have contributed to who it is that you are. And if you don't have a father, or wished you didn't have a father, I need you to sit and think about the wounds that you now carry in your heart space, in your soul, in your unconscious self, bearing the weight of the lack of that particular figure in your life. We all have things to celebrate. We all have wounds to acknowledge. We are going through a healing time right now where we have to start acknowledging some of the wounds that we have accumulated, whether we know of them or not. And now would be a perfect time to zoom in, hone in on the father wound. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That is the vibe. That is the focus. We all have something to learn. We all have silver linings, but give yourself a moment to think about who it is that you are with the quote unquote father role that you had or did not have. We all have someone that influenced us in that role or the lack of that role. And we have to do the deep dive in our unconscious selves, in our psyche, in our heart space, in our inner child realm, because we're moving into Cancer season, which is very much nurturing that inner child. We have to illuminate what it is that we actually feel around the father wound. Okay, that was my rant. Now I'm going to move into the Ascension Symptom rant. So this week, what I want to talk about, well, I do want to talk about a lot, but this week, what I'm going to kind of focus on are the newer ascension symptoms that we can expect to experience. So this does not mean that we're not going to have the generalized ascension flu symptoms. If you feel like you got a cold, you feel like you got a flu, that is the ascension symptoms, normal, standard. What I feel like we're going to be experiencing this week, first and foremost, is a new level of rapid thinking, completing thoughts, decisions, choices, pressure in the head, a lot of light energy coming in to the crown. This can definitely feel like headaches or dizziness or having sensitivity behind the eyes because of the pressure in the head. This can also distort, like we've been talking about, our sensory system is going through a recalibration. This can distort the sounds that we are experiencing, the volume that we hear certain sounds in, and can really put us in a discombobulated state of trying to understand what's going on in our environment. A lot of this is because we are wrapping up Gemini season. When we are wrapping up any season, when we are coming to those final degrees of the zodiac wheel in a particular sign before moving into another one, the pressure is on. Gemini season was all about the mental plane. It's an air energy. It's information, communication, choices, decisions, paths, directions. It's opening our mind up. It's curiosity. And a lot of pressure is going to be felt in the headspace as we move through the final days of Gemini season, and even more so because now Mercury is out of its post-shadow period. Now we are full stop in the moment, looking forward. We have no time to review what took place while Mercury was retrograde. We are going to feel like not just normal ear ringing, not just like pressure in the head, but it might actually feel like you have water in your ears. Now, heads up, we usually embody qualities and characteristics of the season that we're in. So we're in an air season. This is mental stimulation, conversation, voice activations, head pressure. We are moving into Cancer season, which is a water energy. It's a very sensitive water energy. We put on a good front. Let me just tell you, Cancer is represented by the crab, right? A crab looks crabby, looks pretty tough, got a hard shell. But inside that hard shell is an ooey gooey center. And very much like that crab, we are going to portray the qualities and characteristics of that crab through Cancer season. That's why we are protective. That's why we are defensive. That's why we are overly emotional. Now, if you know a Cancer in your life, you will know that they are the mama bear protector of their family, of their friend group, that they put on a good front, that they act a lot tougher than they actually are, and they go to great lengths in order to hide their sensitivity, hide their emotions. Many of my Cancer friends will sit in the shower and cry, or cry themselves asleep at night, just because of the weight, the emotional weight that they carry in their heart space, not only for themselves, but for the people that they love. We are going to feel like there's water in our ears when we switch over to Cancer season. We have all of this pressure building in our heads because we're ending Gemini season, and then we're bringing all of that energy down into the heart space, the emotional space, the intuitive space, that now we have to bring our choices, our decisions, our options down into in order to figure out how it is we actually feel about the choices, the direction, and the path that we are now choosing to build upon. We are going to have a lot of, I want to call them, yes, in a certain way, this is standard Ascension flu symptoms, but I feel like it's different. We're not sick with the cold and flu. I want to talk about like dry throat, sore throat even, mostly because of the dryness, but there's also going to be a lot of phlegm. And the phlegm is coming from both the sinus pressure, the sinus cavity, the head pressure, but it's also coming from our chest because we're about to cough up a brand new truth, so to speak. We are coughing or choking on our words that are coming out very pressurized, trying to wrap up Gemini season. We are literally swallowing the lump in our throat when we move into Cancer season because we're highly emotional. We have a lot to say. We don't really want to offend anyone. We just know that we're feeling vulnerable. And one thing I will say, is that in Cancer season is typically when we're put in positions with the feminine divine energy in our lives, especially family members. So mommy issues, how interesting, right? We're having Father's Day in mommy season, if you will. Anyways, I digress. The feminine energy becomes a little bit more of a focal point. Our home and family becomes more of a focal point, but we are put in positions in Cancer season in order for us to either A, create and implement boundaries in order to protect ourselves emotionally, or B, see whether or not the boundaries that we've already said, new boundaries that we've already set up, whether or not we're actually bold and brave and tough enough to enforce them when we're tested. Boundaries are a big thing because the foundation that we're currently building is still very unstable. We are protecting it at all costs. We are very defensive if anybody's got anything to say about our new life choices. And the sore throat, the dry throat kind of comes with that, but the phlegm comes from our heart space. It comes from our sinuses, from our third eye opening up, realizing that we're being put in situations now to test our strength emotionally. And we're literally coughing on our own words. We're coughing up old phlegm that's stuck in our chest and around our heart activation. And we will be having a lot of that through Cancer season. The family drama needs to happen only because eclipse season, right? Rewind. Eclipse season shook things up. Many relationships fell apart. Many households fell apart. Many family issues got brought up. There was definitely a little bit of drama. Now there's going to be an attempt to resolve that drama through boundaries being tested. Again, I like to call it Cancer season, the mama drama. Why? Because we are mama bears in Cancer season. We can fight with our family, but nobody else can fight with our family. We can say something bad about a family member, but nobody else can say something bad about a family member. This is like, typically speaking, this is where the rearrangement of the family dynamic pops off in order for us to get the lay of the land on whether or not what we kind of thought that we wanted, whether that is what we want. The reorganization, the restructuring that we have to do in the family environment, whether that's actually going to work for us or not. We're going to be tested on that. Because of that, we can expect some waterworks, okay? It is a very emotional time. And like I said, you might not be open and vulnerable with the emotions that are coming up within you, but please do not be surprised when you are overly sensitive and crying at something that you normally wouldn't cry at. That is what Cancer season is all about. And we also want to consider that it is likely that we will be packing on a little bit of water weight throughout Cancer season as well. And I want to say water weight, but let me also say this, a negative to this energy is that we overeat to try and fill the void of our emotions that we should be working on and processing, that we delude ourselves into actually facing. So we turn to food and stuff our face. Now you're really going to have a problem if you go ahead and do this, because as you know, our bodies have been going through a huge transformation where we don't need as much food as we once did. We sure as hell don't need any junk food, processed food, antibiotic food. We got to clean our food up. The lesser the food, the better at this point. Our light body needs our physical body to be as light as possible. And that poses a serious problem when we find ourselves as emotional eaters. I also want to talk about, and I know this is gross, I know this is TMI, but like we have to talk about it, it's part of being a human. The output of our bowel and bladder issues, they're changing. Might look different visually, might be a different color, right? Our diets are changing, our bodies are changing. We could only expect that our output is changing as well. The smell is definitely off, right? The frequency is off. The cramping is off. The spasms are off. Everything is off. We're recalibrating the system. So we have to think of the emotional connection to food. Then we have to think about the food that we're putting in us. Then we have to think of our physical bodies trying to actually process the food that we're choosing to put in it. Then we're looking at the pain, the discomfort, the cramps, the whole acid reflux thing, how our physical bodies are reacting to what it is that we're feeding it as fuel. And then we have to look at our output to get a good idea on what is working for us and what is not. It's a whole system. It's a growth system at the end, but it is a system that we need to kind of see the step-by-step process of to connect our emotions to our output, which our emotions stink, our emotions are changing, our emotions are, quote unquote, pretty shitty. So we have to pay attention to our physical bodies. We have to pay attention to what we're putting in it as fuel. We have to pay attention to the way that it's reacting, and we can figure out if it's good or bad based off of the output. Now, skin irritations. Many of us have been kind of seeing the ebb and flow of this through the ascension process. Sometimes it's worse than others. What I will say, because many of us are in a season where, quote unquote, summer, watch out for, and I'm going to try to not go on a serious rant here, but watch out for your skin burning. First of all, I'm not a fan of sunscreen. Sunscreen is poison. The whole, sunscreen thing that they've pulled over our eyes for God knows how long, it's absolutely disgusting. If we had an actual unfiltered, unaltered, organic sun going on in our realm right now, I would say that that is healthy to get that vitamin D in, to let the sun hit your skin. However, as you know, the stuff that they're putting in the air, chemtrails, whatever you want to call it, our air is 100% polluted. I am actually of the mind where the sun is actually being altered as well. I don't believe anything is real in this matrix anymore. I think that man has pretty much tainted everything in one way or another. And what I've noticed is that the sun is a different color sun than I remember it to be. The sun has a different kind of heat than I remember it to be. And the sun burns my skin in a different way than I remember it burning, in a faster way as well. And the last 2 days were very nice days, but I'm like as you can see, I'm like the whitest person to ever exist. My skin is almost neon green. I'm see-through. I'm so white. I definitely do not expose myself to the sun for various reasons. I was out in the sun maybe for an hour each day, and right now I am suffering from a sunburn that has just burned in a way that I never remember the sun burning my skin before. I've had sunburns. I've actually had sunburns like where I had to go to the hospital, 3rd-degree burns in my muscle tissue type of burn. So like I said, I'm very cautious of how much time I actually spend in the sun. But I was in the sun for a very short amount of time, and what it did to my skin is just mind-blowing. That's why I want to say, regardless of whether it is what they're putting in the air, whether they have actually altered the sun or not, whether they're able to alter the rays of the sun, it's all questionable at this point, because I don't believe that anything is truly organic and real as it once was in our realm. But skin irritations are going to be something very interesting. Now, I'm not even going to go to the whole monkeypox thing, because if you buy into that, then you know what, there's no really hope for you anyways. But this whole skin irritation thing, the reason why I want to bring it up is because it is a skin irritation. Sunburns, rashes, bug bites, pimples, just flare-ups in the skin. May I remind you, skin is the largest organ that we have. By the time something actually reaches developing our skin, that is a good indication of what is not working so well in our inner realm with our internal organs. Now, one would say, okay, well, you're getting a sunburn from an external force. That may be true, but it's still affecting the largest organ of your body, and it has repercussions on how you feel on the inside. Let me tell you, I feel like a swollen lobster. I feel very gross. I do not feel like I should feel if a 100% organic sun had touched my skin for an hour. I do not feel that. I literally feel like my internal organs are on fire. That is not normal. Why I want to bring this up is because the skin is the only indication that we have to figure out what's going on inside of us. By the time that we have a skin eruption taking place, that is a good indication that things have gotten a little bit too far on the inner realm. Bug bites, I'll even give you another personal. So I react to bug bites all the time. Like react as in I get, like if there's a bug bite on my ankle, my whole ankle swells up. I have to take meds in order to get the swelling down. It turns into a very sore spot. I usually have a bruise that will end out of it. One bug bite will be on my body for, let's say, over a month. And I was outdoors 2 days ago trying to cut my lawn. I have 26 bug bites on my back. Literally put me in a state where I had to take more allergy medication than normal. And of course, that has a major effect on how you feel. And all the bug bites on top of the artificial burn that I currently have, I don't feel so hot. I'm not feeling so good. And, you know, it's just a systemic thing in my body. I'm sure it is in yours too. So now, you know, the sore throat could be contributed to that, the ear popping and, you know, the ear pressure, the head pressure. Like, what is it, right? What I know to be true is that the physical circumstances usually always align with the solar flares, the solar winds, and the plasma popping off the sun. We had good indicators last week of where the Schumann Resonance was at. I suspect this weekend we are going to see the Schumann Resonance pop off in a whole different kind of way. And as we move throughout the solstice energies, you can definitely count on the Schumann Resonance showing us factual statistical data on the energetic shifts that we're definitely going to feel, but in our physical body, we may even start to see, especially with the skin irritations. I talked about chest and heart activations, much of that, again, Cancer season. We're very emotional. We have to factor in our intuition with our emotions, again, blending intuitional insight with logic and practicality. But Cancer season is also a time that is, typically speaking, overly attached to the past. You know, Cancer season is where generational trauma usually peaks, again, with the family drama. We are a little bit more apt to look back on our past and romanticize it, paint it with a different color than it was actually painted in. Again, the rose-colored glasses are going to be slapped off of our face next week when Neptune goes retrograde. So we're not going to get too much of Cancer season in La La Land, but it does kind of put us in a nostalgic state of mind, if you will, to kind of trigger those emotions that many of us don't even know that we carry on in our heart space, in our unconscious selves, and on our shoulders. And we will be seeing a lot of heart chakra activations, especially when Venus moves into Gemini. Reason being, she's been very grounded out, very in the moment, trying to figure out her worth, her value, her happiness, her joy in Taurus energy. When she moves into Gemini energy, it's all in the mental plane. It's all in the mental field. And she has to kind of open up her mind to allow her heart space to be activated in a different way. In Gemini energy, we have the ability to rewrite narratives in our mental plane. And when we do that, whether it's about the past or our present or our future, we have the ability to alter the emotions that we attach to said thought, said topic, said theme. So when Venus is on the move and she's, evolving and progressing and improving, we get those heart activations. It could feel like a weight on your chest. You could have indigestion. You could have a rapid heartbeat. You could feel like your heart's going to beat out of your chest. You could feel like it's going to be hard to breathe. We're in a water season. It's probably going to feel like it's hard to breathe anyways. We have to just understand the vibe that we're currently facing. So I talked about how this is going to be an experimentation phase from now until the Lion's Gate. Please just keep in mind that when we experiment, we readjust. When we kind of put ourselves out there in a different way to, experience life from a different perspective, that means that we're rewriting our past understanding and perception. There's a lot of rewriting that's going to be taking place from now until August 8th. And with that, we have to be very mindful that we're giving our physical body enough rest, right? Our physical body needs to rest while our energy body recalibrates. And that might not feel so good. You might learn the hard way about that. But I want you to pay attention, of course, to the physical body and where the pain and discomfort is coming up, because that is the energy blockages that you need to be working on in your emotional and mental field in order to resolve, so that you're not having this kind of pain and discomfort with all of this energy, these light codes coming in from the cosmos, trying to push through our physical bodies, open up our meridians, and let this energy flow very openly, very freely. That being said, again, I'm not going to go on the rant about how we are basically just energetic batteries or conductors of energy. Our feet touch Mother Earth. Our head touches the universal intelligence. The energy from the universal intelligence needs to move through our physical bodies, go into Mother Earth. We need to take the energy back from Mother Earth, channel it through our bodies, let it go back to the cosmos. This is why we have pain and discomfort through these ascension symptoms, because the channel that we are is not open, is not free. We have electrical meridians, electrical channels in our body. When the gunk of our experience, our emotional and mental experience, gets stuck in our cellular memory, that is creating a blockage. The light codes get all bunched up there. That's why we have pain. I want you to pay attention to the bottom of your feet. I want you to pay attention, to the sensation on the bottom of your feet, toe cramps, foot cramps, vibration, tingling, cold feet, hot feet, okay? Then I want you to pay attention to your ankles. Are your ankles rigid? Are they cracking? Do they feel safe? Do they feel stable? Did you twist your ankle? I want you to pay attention to your knees. Fear is stored in your knees. Right now, we are being encouraged to move forward. Many of us are going to get locked up from the knees down because we have cold feet. We're moving into Cancer season. That is a water sign. We get cold feet. What did I talk about at the beginning of this? Sometimes when we're gifted the green light go ahead that we've been hoping and praying for, then we get into a state of paralysis. We don't know what to do. This is why I want you to pay attention to your lower extremities, because we are moving into a time where action is going to be necessary. And this is a time when you're actually going to see the level of fear that you're carrying in your joints, the stability that you either feel or do not feel, the connection that you actually have with Mother Earth, and where it is in your physical form that you are all kind of junked up with old past trauma and pain and memories, and where it is that you got to do the work in order to free that up. Now, last week, super interesting, we talked about, we talk about time quite frequently because time is all over the place. But we also talked about how, like, the lagging, like people's voices not matching up with their mouths, and like social media or TV or whatever, and the voices being off. And I can't believe how many of us are actually experiencing that in different ways. But moving towards the solstice energy is a lot of the reason why the timing is off right now. We will be reset with the solstice energy. There will be a recalibration, a realignment, if you will, of those energies that have seemed kind of out of whack, that have seemed off kilter, that have seemed off beat. So I think I would presume that from now until the solstice, we're going to feel like we're really in a time warp, like we're going to be dazed and confused, as if we weren't already, but the time warp is going to get more extreme before it balances out on the solstice. I honestly believe that the lag in time, in voices, in sound, in movement, that's all going to be off as well. There is a discombobulation in the time-space continuum that gets hella crazy, hella out of whack. Before the solstice kicks in, resets us. We're all kind of back in alignment, back in tune, and then we start the next process of kind of rewriting the timelines, the storylines, and that's when we can see, you know, the timing get off again, or the time warp come back again, or, you know, those kind of blips in the matrix, if you will. But I feel like, you know, as anything in this cyclic process that we're in, just as we're about to approach a monumental energy shift, the energy gets more extreme in all the wrong ways. It kind of like falls apart in all the wrong ways. And I think that, you know, many of us will definitely see the difference come the solstice energy, and it will feel very, very different than what it is that we've been experiencing. So guys, I think that's all I'm going to kind of hash out and talk about this week. Of course, if you have any questions, have any comments, please leave them in the chat below. I will do my best to get back to you. There's also some beautiful people in this community that are very, very well equipped to jump in and give you their 2 cents as well. I want to know what you're currently thinking, what you're currently feeling. I want to know where it is that you feel like you're at in this timeline. I just want to know that what I'm speaking about here in these kind of rants makes sense, that we're all kind of connected in one way or another. And that, again, the whole point of what I would like to say is the whole point of this community is to reassure not only ourselves, but other people that we are, in fact, not alone in this process, that we're all going through it. We may all be in different parts of our journey, but we all have similar experiences. We're all, you know, just on the crazy train together, and that we just need to remind ourselves that even though we may be caught in moments of pure isolation and loneliness, that we can always come back to this community, read through the chat, identify with other people, and validate for ourselves that we're definitely not alone in this journey. So I want to thank you once again for not only being here for yourself, but being here for me as well. The love and support that you guys continue to give me is just so overwhelming. I cannot tell you how appreciative I am for not only you spending your time, your energy here with me in these chats and in these videos, but also for taking the time to send me the quick little messages that you do that just give me the validation that I'm continuing to do my job, my purpose, my mission here, and that I've met the right kind of people to team up with to get us through this little chapter. So I hope you have a beautiful week, and we'll talk to you soon.